Welcome back. In the last session, we had done the installation of Anaconda and we just got introduced to the Spyder environment. And in case you would not have installed Python, basic Python without Anaconda, in that case, if you would have just installed basic Python, you would have got the IDLE environment, which I do not recommend. We should use Anaconda. We saw the Python implementation, it is a C Python. So now let us see the concept of frozen binaries. What are frozen binaries? Frozen binaries are executables that can be run on machine without having the full-fledged installation of Python. Many a times you would develop an app and you want to give it to your client. But if you give it to your client and you go ahead and say to the client, hey, you have to do the full Anaconda installation, client would not like it. In that case, you have a concept of frozen binaries. Whatever codes you have, you can compile it and package it in an executable format, executable binary format, and give it to the client. In that case, what will happen is the bare minimum basic libraries, modules which are required for the code to run, along with the Python interpreter, all of that will get packaged into it. In that case, the client has to just install that library. Okay. To create frozen binaries, we require some third-party applications like Py to exe, which will convert a Py script to a exe, or something called a Py installer, which will create a installer kind of a app from your code, or something called a Py to app. Now, how does the frozen binary work? What it does, it bundles the following elements into a single code file, single package. The bytecode, when you run a Python code, the first thing that happens in the background is from a high level language, a low level language gets created. That is .pyc files gets created. The interpreter, Python virtual machine interpreter, it packages that also, and the supporting libraries which your code is making use of. All of those things it will package into a executable, and that you can give it to your client. That is the concept of frozen binaries. The Python Spyder environment we have already seen. So we are now going to move into the next element, which is basic help and Jupyter environment. Okay. So let us quickly once again have come back to our Spyder. In case you have not launched your Spyder, launch your Spyder. I run the help function. Sorry, you just cannot type on an editor and press enter. I typed on editor and pressed enter. I was waiting for it to run. Forgot that I have to press control enter. Select it, control enter, and here you see it comes in a help mode. The console, if you see the console, it is now in the help mode. Anything that you type here, you will get the help. I have pressed multiple time enter. It has exited the help mode. Sorry, control enter. I've come back in the help mode. str, I press help str, and on the console I press enter. It is going to open the entire help documentation on the string function. If I scroll it up, It is now giving me the entire help. Very difficult to make sense out of this. Help on class str in module built-in. So it is now giving me help on a class str, which is a module which is built in. So it is now giving me full help on that. Very difficult to understand. Okay, but this is how you get the help. So the better way approach is you should get the entire documentation of a library, or probably go and see the documentation on Google. As far as Python is concerned, I would say if you want help, go with a Google search and get the help. It would be a faster, relatively faster approach to get the pinpointed help. Okay, and it will come in a nice format, in a web page format. I want to exit from a help, so I can simply press enter here. It will execute. You are now leaving help and returning to the Python interpreter. If I want, without getting into the help mode, I want the help on something, help str, enter. So this will give me the entire help documentation. There are other shortcuts. Let me just check. str and control I. It should open the help here. It has come here str, and I've got a documentation in a neat format. So let me have it in a bigger window. Yeah, str, function of built-in module. So what you have to do is, in the editor, the function or the class on which you want the help, you have to type that and press Control I. In that case, the help is going to open in a slightly more better way. Okay, what does it do? Creates a new string object from a given object. So you have to pass an object, from that it is going to create a new object. This is just to know how to get help. How do you do commenting? Just like many other programming language, the way to comment is use hash. This is a comment. Okay. Finally, what we are now going to use for the entire session, we are going to use Jupyter Notebook. From a training point of view, it is much more easier to go ahead and use Jupyter Notebook. So how to launch a Jupyter Notebook? On your run, type Anaconda prompt, and probably you may run it as an administrator. If there are sometimes issue, you may want to run it on an administrator mode. If there is no issue, run it as a simple mode. For now, I am running it as an administrator. Go to a specific drive. For example, I'll go to D:, and now type Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter, Jupyter, not Jupiter, not the planet Jupiter with I, but here we have to type it with Y. Jupyter, and notebook, NOTE book. Press enter. It will open a browser in which we will now work. something of this kind of a screen is going to open. All of you getting something of this kind of a screen? Yeah. Then say new and say Python 3. Create a new notebook with Python 3. You will have a new tab opening up. And this is where we can now start writing our codes. This is where we can now start writing our codes. All of you come to this level. So here in this cell, you can start writing your code. A is equal to 10 and then say shift enter. The moment you press shift enter, you get a new cell. The code of the previous cell has got executed. Variable a has got defined. The value of a has been saved as 10. How do I know? I now say just a and again press shift enter. It displays me the value of a, which is 10. We have to now start understanding many help. So here my cursor is blinking. You press escape. You see the tab color has changed from green to blue. This is where the color. You press enter, it again becomes green. Basically, when you press enter, it is in a edit mode. The moment you press escape, it is not in a edit mode. It says that cell is selected. Now here you see there is a drop down saying code. You've got multiple elements: code, markdown, raw, NB convert, heading. So now when the cell is in a non-edit mode, if I press M, that cell drop down becomes markdown. Okay, now what is the utility of markdown? So I press enter, it is still here. I press enter and now I say this is a command. I press enter, sorry, shift enter. It opens a new tab and that part of the code is now not shown in a cell, it is now shown as some documentation. Okay, so all of you are going to repeat with me. My current cell is in green color. I press escape, then I press character M on keyboard and I press single enter, I press hash. Comments are used for documentation purpose. And then press shift enter. Once again my cursor is blinking. I'm pressing escape and I press character H. And you see a documentation on keyboard shortcuts for Jupyter notebook opens up. So many of the shortcuts you can get from here. Some of the important shortcuts I'm quickly going to help you run through. Okay, I'm going to close it. Somewhere say my cursor is now on the second execution where I am displaying the value of A. I want a cell coming below this and before this is a comment. So what I can do is I press escape and press B. B is for below and a new execution tab gets inserted between the earlier execution and this is a comment. I can now write my new code somewhere here. B is equal to 20, shift enter The moment I say shift enter, it goes to the this is a comment statement. Most important thing is you have to see the color. Now it is in this is a comment. I want a working cell which is above it. I press A. A cell comes above it. I press enter. The moment you press enter, it comes into edit mode. You have to remember that. So I say C is equal to A plus B. Shift enter. Okay. This is a comment is selected. I want to make it basically a simple heading. Jupyter no longer uses spatial heading cells. Okay, so it is now getting deprecated. It is not going to use it. So I say okay. I convert it into a raw. This is a raw NB raw text from something which was used for creating some header. I've now converted into a simple text. When you say raw NB convert, let us see some further markdowns. Escape, press M, it becomes a markdown, press enter. Now instead of putting one hash, if I make it two hash, this is heading level 2. Control enter. It got executed. Now this time I've pressed control enter instead of shift enter. When I press control enter, what happens? It gets executed but does not go to the next line. Next cell does not come. I press shift enter, it goes to the next line. Escape. Now this time I'm going to make it markdown, and this time I'm going to put 3 hashes. This is heading level 3. Shift enter. You can see the font. When I put 1 hash, the font was bigger. When I put 2 hash, the font size reduced. When I put 3 hash, it goes on decreasing. You can go up 4, 5, up to 6 is what my understanding is. That way the font size will keep going down. The entire file so far is getting saved as untitled. This is the name. I can come here and give a name to this notebook. So I'll say my first notebook. Rename. If you see the home, here it is now going to display the name as my first notebook dot ipynb. This is called IPython notebook. The extension ipynb is .ipython notebook. Now where would this file actually get created? The file is going to get created in the D drive. Why in the D drive? If you recollect, you executed the command Jupyter notebook on Anaconda prompt by first going to the D drive. So if you call Jupyter notebook from D drive, the file will get stored in that drive only. So if it would be DK2 analytics folder, and from there I would have called Jupyter notebook, in that case the file would have got created in that drive. If you see, I've just come to my D drive, and here is the file name, my first notebook.ipython notebook file is created here. Okay, we just saw how to go about opening Jupyter notebook and some basic help we did. We executed certain basic command. Once again, I'll let you know escape and H. It opens up the shortcuts, various shortcuts that you can use while executing the code. Okay. Coming back to the presentation. What if you require certain library, certain module, which does not come pre-installed with Anaconda, which means you will have to install new libraries. The way to install new libraries is using either a pip command or using conda command. Okay. By default, conda is installed, so you do not have to run this step. Installation of a conda, mini conda, is not required if you have installed Anaconda. In case you have just installed Python, in that case, your conda install command does not work. In that case, you will have to run miniconda installation first, and only then conda install syntax will work. For example, I want to say install numpy or pandas. Frankly, I need not install numpy or pandas. Pandas is basically a library to support data frame. In Python, the pandas is the library to support data frame. And numpy, num is numeric. So numpy, if you have a data set which is completely of columns having numbers, so numeric array, in that case it becomes a numpy array. So in that case you require numpy. For most of the machine learning algorithms, we have to convert the entire data, all variables, into a number array, numeric array. In that case numpy is useful. Pandas is built upon numpy. We'll see more of these pandas and numpy libraries in our subsequent session. However, for now, let us understand how to go about installing. And by default, Anaconda comes with the installation of numpy and pandas, but I'll still install pandas. Once again, you have to go to the command prompt or the Anaconda prompt. I prefer always going to the Anaconda prompt. I'll use Anaconda, right click, run as administrator. It is safest. If you do not know whether the installation will work or not, run as administrator. I say run as administrator. Yes. And now I'll run say a command conda install pandas. Pandas, as I mentioned, is some library which supports data frame. So I say conda install pandas. Note here we do not have a syntax which you can run on the console of Python for installation of library. In case of R programming, you had the install.packages command. Equivalent of install.packages command is conda install command. Only thing is in R, the install.packages command you executed on the console itself. In Python, you have to come to the Anaconda prompt or you have to come to the command prompt. Even if you run this command from the command prompt, DOS command prompt, it will execute provided the Python libraries are in the Python path. Okay. So here, as we have executed the command, it is first trying to solve the environment. It's just trying to find the environment. It may take some while. Let it take. It is taking quite a while to solve the environment. Now it is done. Okay. It has resolved the environment, and it says that the following packages will be updated. The following packages will be downloaded. So in this case, in case you want to update, you may say yes. I'll just say yes. So it goes about finding the latest package and install the same. In case your machine has already the latest version, in that case it would have said you have the latest version of the package. As such, no further installation or updation is required. Okay, done. The other way of doing installation is basically using pip command. So I'm now going to run the pip command. If you have done Anaconda installation, then my recommendation is go with conda install command. Do not go with the pip command. But we have done pandas, so now I'm going to say pip install numpy. So after doing that, requirement already satisfied, numpy in this particular path, and it just gives a comment you are using pip version 18.5, however version 19.003 is available. If you want to update the pip installer, you may run this Python syntax. Resume. So having installed the pandas and how to go about installing, now let's just see path. As I mentioned that you could have run these commands from your command prompt also. Let me show executing that. I'm now going to say cmd. This is command prompt. Earlier we were running Anaconda, which was Anaconda command prompt. Now we are running cmd, which is DOS command prompt. I'm again running it as an administrator. And here I'm going to run conda install. Again, I'm going to say pandas only. So if you see the above, the behind scene, it says select administrator and Anaconda prompt. Here it says administrator and command prompt. Can you see that? That's the difference. So here when I run this conda install pandas, okay, it says conda is not recognized as an internal or external command. Let me just type pip. It is again saying the same error. Probably because the Python path setting would not be done. Okay, so here I just ran Python and now it is not going to run in this. Okay, so probably from command prompt you will not be able to run it unless the path settings are proper. Okay, so in that case the better approach is run Anaconda command prompt. Now what is path setting? Let us try to understand what is path setting. Python path is a module search path. See, whenever you run a command, how it comes to know which libraries to use and where are those libraries in your machine. That is called environment setting. And the environment setting in Python is done by setting the Python path. To get the path, you require a sys library. So we'll come back to our Jupyter and we are going to say import sys, shift enter. The library sys is imported. And we are now going to say sys dot. It is not giving me auto prompt. What do I do? I press tab. Sys dot, I was looking for auto prompt so that it happens auto completion also, but it is not giving it. So I have to press tab. Now I type P, automatically it is narrowed down. Okay, path. Shift enter. This is the path from where it is going to load the libraries. Any module, any library that I would like to install or load, not install, any library, when I run import command, when I want to load it, if they are available in any of these path, the import command is going to be successful. If it is not available in any of these path, in that case it is not going to be successful. What if you have got a path from where you want to load library, but it is not highlighted here? And how do you ensure that you can put that path as your default setting? So in that case, what you have to do is you have to change environment variable of your operating system. How do you do it? For example, in Windows, I have to type environment. It says edit the system environment variables. So I say okay. You get here environment variables. You say okay. And here I have to create a new system variable. Say Python path. And here I'll say d colon backslash K2 analytics. Okay. 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 Before I can see whether that path is added, I'll have to restart, because when I started this console of Python, at that time whatever was the setting that got loaded. So if I run this sys.path once again, it's not going to change. I'll have to close this environment of Jupyter notebook and restart it. So let me close it, leave. I'll have to fully close it, done. And I have to ensure, because I gave the path dk2 analytics, I have to ensure that there is a folder K2 analytics here. Okay. And I run an Anaconda prompt, run as an administrator. Yes. Last time we executed it from D drive. This time I'm not going to change my D drive. I'm going to run it from here only. Jupyter notebook. Browser opens up. My file, I'm not able to locate it. The file that we created, I'm not able to locate it. Why? Because it is going to display all the IPython notebook from the drive from where you opened it. Last time we called Jupyter notebook from D drive. So it was showing from there, but now I have called it from my default path. So all which is present here, all folders and files which are present in that path, it is going to show. In case I have to open a file which is already existing, this is the older version. There are lots of content, so it is taking some more time. Yeah, it got loaded. So here I have to say upload. If I have to take the file which was somewhere else, upload, I have to select the file, browse it, and only when you do that, it will now going to come in that folder path. So you have to remember the folder where you want to create your IPython notebook. You have to call Jupyter notebook from that folder. In case you do not call your Jupyter notebook statement from that folder and you call it from anywhere else, then you have to go use this upload path. Okay, upload, select, browse to the folder and run it. So here my first notebook.ipython notebook has come. It is still not uploaded. I have to say upload. Only when I say upload, it is going to get uploaded. This upload is taking time because there are lots of files in it. I'll cross it for simplicity. Exit this Anaconda prompt. Exit all Anaconda prompts for a time being. All of them I'm closing. Once again, I'll go run Anaconda prompt. ANA run as administrator. Yes. Because that file had lots of things, I'll go to D drive, CD. CD. In that D drive, we created a folder analytics. I'm going to call it from this drive. Earlier, I just called it from C colon whatever was my root, and there were lots of content in that, so it was giving issue. So I'll say D colon K2 analytics only, and from here let us call Jupyter notebook. This is a lighter folder, nothing is present in that. This notebook is empty. This notebook list is empty. I have my file actually here. So if I want to open it, I'll have to go there, open. It says upload. I have to say upload, and it has got uploaded, and only then I can run it. Now if I run my this path, and by the way, Jupyter notebook, once you create a Jupyter notebook file, all codes that you have executed, the entire all of that output will be shown unless you re-execute it. Okay, so basically if you have written some code along with output, you want to send it to a client and along with full documentation, you can do this in a Jupyter notebook. You can send the IPython notebook. It will open as it is, as you saved the last version. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is import sys, shift enter, and sys path. Now this time around, this DK2 analytics, this second one, the path from which you called Jupyter notebook will come by default. The second DK2 analytics has come, which is from the sys path setting that we did by changing the environment variables. Okay, so this is the all the setting part, installation path of Python. Some of the things which you may not require is the path setting. Typically you will not require path setting. The reason I entered into path setting is you should understand when you call import, how it is able to import the libraries, because there is some Python path setting which is there in your system environment, operating system environment. You can change it. So that's the reason I went here. But frankly, 90% of time, 99% of time, you are not going to be bothered about changing the environment variable. All libraries that you install will go in a folder which is a library that would by default be path in your environment. So anytime you run import sys, did I say which path? No. Why? It got installed by default in a folder which is in the default path library. So automatically Python was able to load it. Okay. So this is the complete installation details about Python, Anaconda, environment setting, and graphical user interface, idle, Spyder, Jupyter. For our entire training session, we are going to use Jupyter because it is very user friendly. So once again, as a conclusion, what we have to do, how we have to call Jupyter notebook. I'm closing all of that. We have done the Anaconda installation. If you have forgotten, first step, you have to call Anaconda prompt, run it as a administrator, say yes, go to the folder from where you want to work. This will say C Windows System 32. I do not wish to work from here. I wish to work from somewhere else. So I wish to work from, say, here. First go to that folder and then call Jupyter Notebook. Enter. A browser will open. Which all files you had created are going to reflect here. In case there is no file and you want to create a new file, new, here you have to select Python 3. The moment you say Python 3, you will have an untitled file. You want to name it, rename it ABC, rename. Automatically the extension of that file will be .ipython notebook, .ipynb. That would be the extension, and you start writing the codes here. And this is what we are going to use for our entire Python training session. With this, we conclude the installation, setup, and graphical user interface part of the Python. Thank you. Thank you all of you.